One of the most positive experiences I ever had as an atheist was back in 2012 at the first Reason rally.
Oh my god. It's another one of these. I tell you what, I don't have enough beer to fill my boot, but this'll have to do. Because you can't get through a Steve Shives video without inebriation. Just not possible.
I was born and raised and continued to live in an area where religious faith, almost always in the form of some flavor or another of Christianity, is taken for granted. Being an atheist surrounded by religious folks, many of whom are quite outspoken about their faith, can be an alienating experience.
Wow, Steve, I never knew we shared something in common. I too grew up in an entire society that was alienating toward atheists. In fact, being religious was taken for granted. To give you an example, when my wife moved to Utah, she overheard people saying that they were going to the temple. She turned around and said to him, "You guys don't look Buddhist. What are you talking about?" They, of course, were talking about the Mormon temple because, well, that's Utah. Everybody's Mormon. So, yeah, I never knew we had something in common there, Steve. But what's with this fucking intro, man? Really?
So when I found myself standing on the National Mall in 2012, God, look at my fat, bare baby face.
And now look at this skinny, self-absorbed jackass face. Because who wants to look at that shit?
Anyway, when I found myself standing there surrounded by thousands of other people who shared my lack of religious faith, it left an impression. I wasn't alone. I wasn't isolated. I was part of a community, a growing, energetic, enthusiastic community. I've long believed that a crucial step in leading a happy and fulfilling life is finding your people. That day at the Reason Rally in 2012, I felt as though I had found my people. It didn't turn out to be true, but still, nice memory.
Wow, you self-absorbed piece of shit. We started right off, and here we are. Didn't turn out to be true. I can't imagine why that is. So, shall we compare the size, complexity, participation, and whatnot of the Reason Rally of 2011, the first one, and the last one that was a complete atrocity? Shall we? Shall we compare notes? I'm pretty sure the decline in participation might have been because of social justice. And on that note, I don't have my sake glasses. God damn it, Steve.
Since the rise of the new atheists, personified most prominently by Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris, the so-called Four Horsemen.
So-called Four Horsemen? So-called Four Horsemen. Let's see. In that room that you're staring at right now, there is Doctor of Neurology, Doctor of Biology, Doctor of Philosophy, a Masters of Journalism, who is now late and deceased, but had one of the best grasps of the English language that has yet to ever seen the side of atheism. And they're so-called? Let me guess, because they don't align with your bullshit, they're so-called, right? Is that how this thing works? Fucking Steve, man. So-called. Four Horsemen. 3 doctors and a Master's of English. So, what do you have under your belt, Steve? Because you're talking to a doctorates right now. You used to talk to me anyways, until you blocked me on Twitter like a little bitch.
The organized atheist movement has become as closely associated with bigotry and sexual misconduct as with reason and enlightenment.
Bigotry and sexual misconduct, and you bring up an anti-Muslim bigotry issue. Right. Because every single one of those said that Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas. Islam must be stopped at all forms and if at all possible. The great Christopher Hitchens once said that just watch and see the way they'll slip through the back doors with a new term called Islamophobia. Sure as shit that was introduced, wasn't it? Except I can't seem to get over the part in Quran 8:12 that says it wants my head and my fingertips cut off. I really have an issue with saying Allah is not real and then somebody wanting me dead. I don't like that.
It's a shame, but the real shame of it is that such associations are completely justified. Atheist spaces, both in real life and online, have been dominated by cis-hetero white men for as long as I've been an active participant.
Cis-hetero white men. Right. And this is an issue because you don't like straight white men? Do you wish to be a gay, lesbian, fat woman? Sure sounds like it. You are a cis, hetero, white male, you fucking dipshit. It's dominated by it, right? Like, any woman is not allowed to speak up and say whatever the fuck they want in this space because they can, but no. It's dominated by cis, hetero, white males.
And efforts by women, people of color, LGBTQ people, and members of other marginalized groups to push back against that domination have always been met with responses ranging from indifference to outright hostility.
Indifference to outright hostility. Gee, I wonder why. Could it do anything with the witch hunts that are aligned with social justice? Or could it do anything with the proclamation that cis, hetero, white males are the devil? You've adopted a new religion, Steve, and the rest of us reject it. It's simple as that.
That reluctance to embrace and prioritize the task of making atheist spaces more inclusive would be bad enough were it not present alongside a stubborn tolerance of sexual misconduct. Numerous prominent atheist men.
Sexual misconduct. So, Michael Shermer asked a woman up to his hotel room. She refused. Later, that's sexual harassment. He tried to get laid and failed. Okay. Richard Dawkins was accused of something horrifically stupid too, but he's been married for 30 plus years. It's not likely that he's going to do anything against his wife. Daniel Dennett, similar boat. No issues as far as I've known. The same can be said for Christopher Hitchens. As to best of my knowledge, he's never cheated on his wife. I could be wrong, mind you. But you want to talk about sexual misconduct, do you want to, Steve? In the social justice side, let's look at the Me Too movement, because that's filled with social justice. How many people have been outed for sexual harassment or asking a girl out and having a really shitty date and then it turning into a shitstorm fiasco which could ruin his career type debacle? If you want to point fingers, Steve, how about you start looking at your own direction first? Clean up your own house before you decide to judge somebody else's.
And most notably, Richard Carrier and Skeptic magazine founder Michael Shermer have been credibly accused of committing acts of sexual harassment and abuse and made to face little to no professional consequences as a result.
Faced little or no consequences because of why, Steve? Was there ever a criminal investigation done? Were any of these people employees of Michael Shermer where he asked them up to go do little hanky-spanky and they refused? Since we're talking about sexual assault, was the police involved? Accusations and allegations do not make convictions, Steve. I know that this is a disconnect for you social justice dumbfuckers, but there is a connection there. And you better have some evidence to back up your bullshit. Otherwise, it's bullshit. Fucking idiot.
They still publish books, they still appear in high-profile speaking slots at conferences, and they are still zealously defended from such accusations by their devoted admirers.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Why are they defended? The core of atheism, and the reason why most atheists actually become atheists out of a theist perspective is reason and evidence. Do we suddenly throw out evidence because it suddenly is something that you care about? Do we throw out reason because it's unreasonable to ask somebody to believe somebody's accusations without fair evidence of such thing happening? Reason, evidence, and logic, Steve. Without all three, reason, evidence, and logic, Steve. Without all three of these, not many atheists would be in existence right now. So if you want to cast blame, have some evidence to back it up. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe some dumbass that accuses somebody else of sexual assault and harassment and just goes straight to a blog post or the media rather than the police. If it was really as bad as they claim, he'd be in jail.
Given these conditions, it's no wonder that many activists who might otherwise wish to work within the movement have chosen instead to distance themselves from organized atheism. For those of us who still cling to the naive hope that organized atheism can still be salvaged and put to some good productive use, one of the greatest challenges we face is convincing our fellow atheists that there's even a problem.
No, Steve, there is a problem. It's called social justice. We've all recognized it thus far. You're on the wrong side of this claim. Social justice is Marxism. It is not justice. It is the mob rule. Mob rule leads to witch hunts. Witch hunts leads to innocent people being accused of horrendous things. She's not a witch, but let's burn her anyway.
Oh, it's not that difficult to get someone to acknowledge the existence of, say, misogyny or racism or xenophobia within atheist circles.
You're right. It's not that hard to determine what that kind of stuff is. I'm looking at an asshole that does all three of those right now. Cis, hetero, white, male. You put all four of those things together and used it in a condescending tone to say that this is the problem. And the reason why these people are in power is because of all these things that you just laid out. Xenophobia, sexism, racism, whatever. Yet here you are being racist against straight white men. Sexist against straight white men. Xenophobic against straight white men. There indeed is a problem here, Steve. It's not us. Every time I have to take a drink, it's because Steve said something stupid.
But that acknowledgement is almost always swiftly followed by an attempted dismissal. Oh, sure, there are atheists who are racist or sexist or whatever. I've heard I don't know how many people in the community say, but you can't let a few bad apples spoil the bushel. Most atheists aren't like that. This apathetic, baseless optimism about the state of organized atheism is as corrosive as the problems it ignores, and rarely has it been on more conspicuous display than in the months surrounding Mythicist Milwaukee's Myth Information Conference last year.
Dear Lord, Mythicist Milwaukee gets brought up again. Why, Steve? You weren't invited? Or rather that you were invited and you declined because you will not be set on stage with anybody that you disagree with. Your arguments are so weak you can't even put them up to scrutiny against somebody else. This point that you're making that we don't call out the stupidity within a community, because indeed we have aligned with regards to atheism and anti-social justice. We have aligned because neither position calls for reason. But this is a merry bunch of people that could easily go their own way at any given whim. For each one of these people that are in this group, especially the one you're about to call out, I haven't watched this yet, so I'm going to assume you're about to call him out. Each one of these people could easily go off and do their own individual thing and then disassociate themselves from everyone else in that group instantly. No problems. No questions asked. Look what happened to Crown T. Most people don't want to talk to him anymore. Why? Because he did something unethical. Chew on that for a moment, Steve. No one wants to talk to you. Actually, many people want to talk to you because you won't talk to anyone else. Why do you think that is, Steve?
I've talked about MythCon in previous videos, so I won't go into any more detail here than absolutely necessary. If you want a more in-depth perspective of what MythCon was, why it was a problem, and why it was a problem that more people in the atheist community didn't have a problem with it, I recommend you check out the channel of my pal Chrisiosity. She recently produced 2 videos on the lead up to and fallout from MythCon. They're both linked in the description of this video. They're excellent. I highly recommend them.
Okay, I might do that next. However, the problem behind it was that you tried to saddle somebody for something that they didn't do, and then tried to use your moral relativism to basically shame them into the position and force them to apologize for something that was not directed toward you or your little buddies. Had nothing to do with any of you, and you poked your nose in it. In fact, there has been multiple videos since then showing that this person didn't give a shit in the first place, that it didn't affect her, that she was flat out lying. She's also a very sexist person that has no problem laughing at people because she seems to think it's appropriate while she's an elected official. Somebody brings up something that they care about. Men's rights activist was on stage in this particular moment, and she laughed at them. Why? Because she felt justified in doing so. Sounds a lot like what you're doing right now, Steve.
When people like Christy Winters, Dan Arel, and myself began speaking out against the organizers of MythCon for choosing to associate themselves and their event with some of the most toxic voices in the atheist community, including several YouTubers who built their followings by promoting rape apology and inciting abuse and harassment against feminists and racial equality activists.
Wow, Steve, you just lied right out your fucking asshole. That's sorry, mouth. Really, Steve? You're gonna go with that, right? You guys put the organizer's wife into tears. You're gonna try and take the high road, trying to say you just tried to convince them that they shouldn't do this. Meanwhile, you sicked your fucking lapdogs on the person's wife, on the creator's wife. Put her to tears, put undue stress on everyone else, and cost them almost $100,000 more. You know what the result of your little merry band of assholes was? Next year's is funded. Well, actually it's 2018, so this year's is funded. Way to go. You helped fund the entire next year because of you guys. 9 minutes left of this shit. I'm not sure I'm going to make it.
We were met not only by attacks from the people we were protesting, which was to be expected, but also by a worried disapproval from people we assumed would have been on our side of things. People who had presented themselves as progressive, tolerant, and socially conscious.
You mean the people didn't like the fact that you were bullying the presenters, bullying the creators, and bullying people associated with it? We saw the emails. We heard the notices. We heard the cries for social justice. You tried to bring the witch hunt to somewhere it wasn't welcome. You were met with the pitchforks to push the witch hunters back. That was the result, Steve. People disassociated with your little band of merry stupids very quickly because of this. Way to go. Way to go.
What I realized as a result of the MythCon debacle, and what many people knew already, was that for a lot of folks, supporting equality and justice is about theory.
No, Steve, it's not about theory. You guys support equality of outcome, not the quality of opportunity. You want everybody to have the equal outcome, equal resolve, equal end result. Not going to happen, ever. It is impossible for our species to be able to do this. For that to be possible, we would have to function as a hive mind with a queen bee. We would have to be the Borg. We are not the Borg. And even there's a totalitarian ruler, dictator at the top. Interesting how that works, huh, Steve?
Rather than practice. It's performative. It's about talking the talk, expressing disapproval of the right, wrong things. And it's almost always directed outward. Look over there. Look at what those people are doing. Isn't that terrible? We atheists are accustomed to behaving this way. Many of us who came to the movement as a result of the popularity of new atheists like Dawkins and Hitchens first encountered skepticism in the form of a critique of religion or a debunking of creationism or a debate where our favorite atheist trounced some pompous apologist. It was about exposing how wrong they were and reveling in how right we were.
And this is where you get it wrong again, Steve. It wasn't about how wrong they were. It was about the idea that a God existing is so flamboyantly stupid that anybody that tries to defend it looks like a moron. It's about the ideas being wrong, Steve, not about the people. It could have been another William Lane Craig. It could have been another Saitan Bruzenkate, whatever the fuck his name is. It could have been any one of those apologists, Steve. It could have been any one of them. It wouldn't have mattered. Their ideas are the same. Silly, stupid, superficial. Does anybody remember half the people that Christopher Hitchens debated? The Archbishop of Canterbury, among others. His own brother on this subject? Yet here you are trying to say that, no, we were pointing at how right we are and how stupid they are. Yeah, there are a few people that we know of that are on Twitter. They're basically atheist trolls that look for the religious trolls or religious apologist wannabes, if you want to call them that. And they sit there and attack each other all day, all night long, arguing the points left and right, having them call us religious because we're atheist, so therefore it's a religion or some stupid shit. And we turn around and try to correct them every single time. No, Steve. It wasn't about pointing out that we're right and they're wrong, pointing at the person. It's always been about the idea and the ideals. The same thing goes for your social justice nonsense. It's about the ideas that you expose, the ideas that you espouse, the ideas that you promote and propagate, and them being absolutely fucking stupid. The moment you realize this, Steve, the better off you'll be.
We're good at that. We enjoy that. It makes us feel superior, whether or not we choose to characterize it that way. It's satisfying. It's comfortable. Maybe that's why, as eager as we are to direct our skepticism toward external targets, we're equally reluctant to turn it inward. Because skeptically examining our own communities, our organizations, our heroes, ourselves, is not satisfying, at least not at first.
Steve, we did that to you. That's why you're not in the atheist community. You're an atheism plus, the social justice side of atheism, because you left one religion and had to adopt another. We did look at everything skeptically. We found it wanting. That's why we don't like social justice. It's a corrupt perversion of reality. It is a Marxist, frickin' theoretical bullshit practice that seems nothing else but to pit one person against the other. Ironic, isn't it? How you're doing just that right now.
And it's not comfortable. Pointing out the shortcomings of others is easy. Listening while others point out your shortcomings is hard.
Are you going to listen to this video, Steve? You've already muted everyone else. So you saying this, you hypocritical piece of shit, is just icing on the cake for this fucking video. 6 minutes, 59 seconds. That's where I'm at. And you happen to say that we don't reflect upon ourselves? When's the last time you did that, Steve? When's the last time you talked to anybody you disagreed with?
And harder still is taking it in, giving those criticisms a fair hearing.
No shit, Steve. That's why you blocked everyone.
Acknowledging those shortcomings. And hardest of all is taking that acknowledgement of your own shortcomings and translating it into productive action.
Still waiting for you to unblock everybody that you blocked and have a discussion. How about you show up at a panel or a table and discuss something with somebody else? Oh wait, the last time you tried to do something like that, Steve, at that last conference that you were trying to be all promotive and excited about, you would not speak to anybody else that you disagreed with on your own panel. You refused. If you want to talk about reflective behavior, how about you show it first before you try to say, oh, they're not being very reflective. None of us blocked you, Steve. You blocked all of us. You stupid fucking moron.
Hardest of all is trying to change.
You'll never change, Steve.
It's not just the presence of racists, misogynists, sexual harassers, and other abusive or intolerant people that's the problem.
Yeah. Spit out those fucking insults a little bit more. Yeah, they do a great deal nowadays. Let me tell you. They hold a lot of weight now because everybody's a racist, everybody's a sexist, everybody's a homophobe, everybody's a rape apologist, everybody's everything nowadays, Steve. It doesn't matter anymore now, does it?
It's the tolerance of their presence, and in some cases even the defense of their presence, by people who claim to be on the side of justice and equality.
I am on the side of justice and equality. Equality for all and justice for all. Blind justice. I care not what your skin, your sex, nor your race is. If you do something wrong that is morally apprehensible, that harms another individual, you should feel the full wrath of anything that comes upon you. Not by the mob, but by the justice system. We have laws, we have rules, and we have regulations. Break any of these, you deserve the punishment you've just enacted. We decided as a country that these laws, rules, and regulations are ethically binding. We as a nation agreed upon this. If you don't like it, you can leave. Because these are our laws, our rules, and our regulations. They're not anybody else's. Furthermore, Steve, if you want to say that we're not reflective and we don't care about justice and equality, the next time you accuse somebody of a rape apologizing, or being apologetic, rather, for rape, or that they're sexist or they're homophobic or anything like that, bring forth some evidence. You seriously need some self-reflection. Of course, you won't do that because you think that we need it, Steve.
It's the constant attempts to change the subject when the issues of abuse and harassment and intolerance within atheist circles are raised.
No, Steve. We asked for evidence. None is ever presented. Just accusations. No evidence, no conviction. That is how the law works. Furthermore, the more you hammer on about, oh, these people didn't get punished, the more we seem to realize that that's all you're really after.
It's referring to people who try to talk about these problems as divisive, or an outrage brigade, or fear pimps.
Do you really not hear yourself speak? I'm curious. Do you not hear a single word that comes out of your mouth? I often wonder if you're ever self-reflective in anything that you say when you're doing your videos. Because didn't you just accuse a bunch of people of things? Didn't you just get all outraged because of the cis, hetero, white male happens to be at the top of the tree? It's not true, by the way, but you like to promote it. I mean, that's your favorite thing, right? This cis, hetero, white male is the evil demon that you must exorcise out of the mix, right, Steve?
It's a popular, respected voice within the community telling his audience, yes, these problems exist, yes, those people are bad, but this isn't really all that important, and I'm not going to do anything about it. And it's treating issues of importance to black atheists, trans atheists, atheist women as distractions or niche concerns, which only serves to reinforce a status quo where the voices of the marginalized are silenced or belittled with tokenism, while white cishet men continue to dominate the discourse.
Jesus Christ, you racist, sexist, homophobe. Or actually, it would be sexist, racist, heterophobe, wouldn't it? You just brought up three things. Race and sex or gender and sexual orientation. Out of all those three things, why do we care? Race has nothing to do with anything, really. It's all in your fucking head. Sex? No, there's plenty of atheist women that are fully out there speaking definitely against all the bullshit that there is. I could name a few, but you're not listening, so what does it matter? And then, finally, homophobic? Really? You're the one defending Islam who throws gays from rooftops. You're the one that's defending basically anybody that doesn't like atheism, which is basically the religious. You might as well side with the Catholics that hate gays too. Why don't you side with them, Steve? That's genius. Are you down there with the Westboro Baptist Church saying God hates gays? Because none of us atheists like those people either. Or are you in line with Islam saying that there are no gay people in Islam? There's no gays whatsoever because they've killed them all. You fucking idiot. There's a reason why I have to drink through Steve's movies or videos or whatever the fuck you want to call them. And it's because he infuriates me so much that the only way to get the stupidity out of my brain is to drink. I have to bring myself down to his level somehow.
The problem is so many of us atheists who fancy ourselves as open-minded, tolerant, progressive, socially conscious type guys fail to see or are too cowardly to face is that MythCon was not an aberration. The attitudes that created and sustained it and compelled people to defend it and make excuses for it are not rare in our community.
That is correct. We are the majority in this community. You are the minority. You're the minority for a reason. We don't want that shit in our midst. Social justice, Marxism, and all that goes along with it is pretty much a religion without a God. It is a belief in something that does not exist, that we have proven does not exist, that the studies have been done and it does not exist. It's impossible for it to exist within our species. We're not ants. We're not bees. We're not a hive mind. We're not the Borg. It doesn't work with us. Yet here you are promoting it. As if it's the solution to bring up race, bring up sex, and bring up sexual orientation every single fucking time you want to talk about somebody being in a position of power and somebody who's not. The powerful against the one that's not in power. The oppressed versus the oppressor. First, prove that you're being oppressed before you open your fucking mouth. Of course, you could be gay for all we know, and maybe you fit in one of those.
They are pervasive. This state of affairs goes well beyond the atheist community, of course. One of the most difficult realizations I had to come to following the election of Donald Trump as President of the United States was that he was not an aberration either.
No, he was the result of 8 years of social justice. We've had enough. 8 years of this shit is long enough. We're going to have another 4 of the moron that is Donald Trump because of people just like you. Instead of realizing that you were wrong, you doubled down.
So who are my people? And if what I've spent this video complaining about is the problem, what is the solution? I strongly suspect I will find elements of both at a conference I'm attending in Washington, D.C. the first Saturday in April. I'm talking about Secular Social Justice 2018.
So this entire thing was a plug Secular social justice. Jesus Christ. I think I'll end it here. No one's going to attend this shit, and I hope it gets all the light in the world to say what a fucking racist piece of shit this is going to be. Amplify those voices so you can silence everyone else, because the issue is the white man. Fucking racist piece of shit. I got one more shot. Thank you all for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I kind of did. 12 minutes of a Steve Shives video is rather painful. Hopefully I don't get a hangover from this shit. If you enjoyed it, please share it, like it, whatnot. I'm trying to grow this channel beyond what it is. People like Steve irritate the living shit out of me, and I can't stand it. It's so backwards and so idiotic. I just don't like any form of ignorance, and to see it over and over again by somebody that I actually once liked and did talk to once upon a time. And then to see this shit, it's upsetting. It's annoying. It's pathetic. Social justice is nothing but a disease. It's ruining lives. It's ruining people. And it's dividing everyone by the things that should not matter. It's dividing people by race, by sex, by creed. It's backing backwards religions like Islam. Like, that's a thing that you want to defend, right? Read the Quran and see why you should never defend that fucking piece of shit book. Or the religion. And indeed, some of the people that propagated it, too. It's great to beat your wife so long as you don't leave a mark, says the woman that's getting beat in Islam. Alright, if you like this, please like or whatever, subscribe, all that shit. I hope you liked seeing me get a little toasted watching a goddamn Steve Shives video. I can never do one sober because he's just that annoying and I can't deal with him straight. Thank you for watching.